The brain adapts to whatever it consumes most. If you constantly absorb scarcity narratives, your decisions will mirror scarcity. If you absorb strategic thinking, your decisions will begin to expand. Today, we're going to talk about the most misunderstood subject in personal finance. We are not going to talk about how to make millions. That is the glamorous part. We are going to talk about how to stop losing. That is the uncomfortable part. Most people think financial struggle is a salary problem. They are wrong. Financial struggle is not about income. It is about force. It is about friction. It is about invisible resistance pulling you backward every time you try to move forward. I call this the mechanics of momentum. If you want to understand why progress feels temporary, you must understand escape mechanics. When an aircraft tries to break through turbulence, it does not simply climb gently. It must generate lift greater than drag. If the engines produce 99% of the required thrust, the plane does not almost cruise. It stalls. And it drops. This is exactly what happens financially. You work overtime, you save a little, you reduce expenses, you start climbing, and then something interrupts. A medical bill, a family emergency, an unexpected repair. Resistance activates. Because you never reached escape momentum, you do not stay ahead. You slide back, sometimes further back than where you began, because now you are fatigued and emotionally drained. This is why trying a bit harder rarely works. In the mechanics of money, gradual effort produces fragile results. You need concentrated force to break resistance. The system feels unfair, not because of secret meetings in dark rooms, but because of simple arithmetic. The cost of being broke struggle has a surcharge. When you operate with little margin, every mistake is magnified. You cannot invest in durability, so you buy replacements. You cannot pay up front, so you finance at higher rates. You cannot absorb delays, so you rush decisions. A stable person buys once and moves on. A struggling person buys repeatedly and pays interest on top. The difference compounds quietly. Penalty fees, service charges, minimum balances. You are fined for instability. And here is what most people miss. Chronic financial pressure alters cognition. Under constant stress, your mind narrows. You focus on immediate fires instead of long-term architecture. Decisions become reactive instead of strategic. You are not incapable. You are compressed. Limited margin leads to urgency. Urgency leads to shortcuts. Shortcuts prevent asset building. No assets recreate limited margin, a flawless loop. The first objective is not luxury, it is insulation. Before investing, before upgrading lifestyle, before dreaming big, build a shock absorber. Save a small but protected reserve, not for spending, not for investing, for stability. When disruption no longer equals disaster, your thinking changes. You move from survival mode to control mode. You reinforce the foundation before adding another floor. The reward circuit: when life feels tight, relief becomes addictive. Stress accumulates quietly. Pressure builds invisibly. So when you buy something new, clothes, gadgets, symbols, your brain releases a brief surge of relief. For a moment you feel elevated. That is not consumption, it is anesthesia, but the sensation fades quickly. The payment schedule does not. Short-term comfort, long-term obligation. Those without margin use money to feel better now. Those with margin use money to feel secure later. An asset strengthens your position. A liability weakens it slowly. Many people accumulate visible upgrades while their foundation erodes underneath. The solution is not permanent deprivation. It is controlled discipline. For a defined season, eliminate everything non-essential. Reduce noise. Reduce impulse triggers. Simplify spending to necessities, not as punishment, as conditioning. When your satisfaction begins to come from growth instead of consumption, something shifts. Impulse loses power. And when impulse loses power, you gain it. The hourly illusion most people believe. Effort equals income. More hours, right arrow, more pay. It sounds logical. It feels fair, but reality does not reward fairness. It rewards leverage. Time is capped at 24 hours. Energy is capped even lower, but expenses have no ceiling. Rent rises. Food rises. Fuel rises. Insurance rises. Your body gets tired. Prices do not, so you try to compensate. You work longer shifts. You take overtime. You sacrifice weekends. For a moment, your income increases. You feel progress, but inflation is silent. It does not argue. It does not warn you. It simply erodes. The raise you fought for disappears into higher costs. The overtime you endured disappears into survival. You are exerting maximum effort to remain in the same place. It is like running on a treadmill that slowly tilts upward. You are sweating. You are moving, but you are not advancing. This is the hourly illusion. You cannot win by renting your life in small fragments. You win by increasing the value of each fragment. The market does not pay for time. It pays for outcomes. If two people work 8 hours but one produces 10 times the result, guess who becomes indispensable? Value is nonlinear. Effort is linear. Most people stay trapped because they try to scale effort. Very few try to scale value. This is where the skill stack becomes your weapon. Do not attempt to become world-class at one isolated ability. That path is crowded. Instead, combine skills. Average programmer plus strong communication equals technical leader. Average designer plus marketing knowledge equals brand architect. Average mechanic plus business sense equals shop owner. When you stack abilities, you multiply uniqueness. The marketplace rewards rarity. It ignores repetition. Anyone can work harder. Very few redesign themselves strategically. When you detach income from hours, you detach survival from exhaustion. That is when real movement begins. Build systems. Build reputation. Build assets tied to your expertise. Create something that earns even when you are not physically present. If you are always required to show up for money to appear, you do not own income. Income owns you. Environmental pull. Your environment is stronger than your motivation. You may feel ambitious. You may feel hungry. But if the people around you normalize stagnation, ambition becomes friction. Human beings calibrate to their tribe. If everyone in your circle believes this is just how life is, you will slowly begin to believe it too. Not because you lack intelligence, because you crave belonging. There is a phenomenon often compared to a bucket of crabs. When one tries to climb out, the others instinctively pull it back, not from cruelty, from instinct. Your growth disrupts the emotional equilibrium of the group. If you begin saving aggressively, they call you cheap. If you begin studying at night, they call you obsessed. If you speak about investments, they call you unrealistic. Your progress becomes uncomfortable because it challenges the silent agreement that no one will rise too far. Social gravity is subtle, but it is powerful. To escape it, you must protect your inputs. If you cannot change your physical circle immediately, change your mental circle. Read biographies of builders. Study disciplined thinkers. Listen to people who speak in long-term frameworks. Replace gossip with knowledge. Replace complaints with case studies. Download new mental operating systems. Compounding environment shapes expectation. Expectation shapes behavior. Behavior shapes outcomes. Do not underestimate the power of exposure. You can live in a small town and still think globally. You can earn little and still operate intelligently. Geography influences you, but it does not imprison you unless you allow it to. The compounding divide. Compounding is neutral. It does not care who you are. It does not care how hard you work. It only cares about direction. If you are carrying high-interest debt, accelerates your decline. Interest accumulates silently. Balances grow while you sleep. You make minimum payments. The principal barely moves. Months pass. Years pass. You feel responsible because you are paying, but mathematically you are standing still. Compounding is working against you. Now reverse the direction. Own productive assets. Own investments that generate returns. Own things that appreciate or produce cash flow. Now compounding works for you. The same force that once drained you begins to strengthen you. This is the divide. The poor experience compounding as pressure. The disciplined experience compounding as momentum. The journey has stages. Stage 1, stabilization. Eliminate toxic debt. Cut the highest interest first. Reduce financial bleeding. You cannot build wealth while your foundation is leaking. Stage 2, construction. Acquire assets that produce. Low-cost index funds, businesses, skills that generate premium income. Reinvest returns. Let growth accumulate quietly. Stage 3, independence. When your assets generate enough to cover your essential expenses, you cross a threshold. You are no longer selling time to survive. You are choosing when to trade time for opportunity. That difference is everything. When survival is guaranteed, fear reduces. When fear reduces, clarity increases. When clarity increases, decisions improve. Independence restores dignity, not luxury. Dignity, the ability to say no, the ability to wait, the ability to walk away. That is true leverage. The psychological shift money problems are rarely just financial. They are cognitive. When you move from instability to control, your posture changes. You stop reacting. You start planning. You stop chasing. You start positioning. The difference between struggle and stability is often a few disciplined years, but those years feel long because the rewards are delayed. Delayed gratification feels unnatural in a world engineered for instant stimulation. Notifications, ads, one-click purchases, everything encourages immediacy. Wealth requires patience. Patience feels boring, but boredom is where compounding happens. While others seek excitement, you build infrastructure. While others display consumption, you accumulate capacity. At first, no one notices. Later, everyone asks how you did it. Final reflection, the hourly illusion. Environmental pull, the compounding divide. These are not abstract theories. They are invisible mechanics shaping daily life. You are not trapped by fate. You are influenced by structure. Structure can be redesigned. You do not need to become extraordinary overnight. You need to become intentional consistently. Small strategic changes, repeated long enough, create disproportionate outcomes. Increase value. Control inputs. Reverse compounding. The exit is not dramatic. It is methodical, not loud, but deliberate. You now understand the system. You understand the forces. Momentum is not magic. It is mathematics applied patiently. The door was never locked. It required awareness, then discipline, then time. That is all.